Hello, good afternoon, and welcome back again to Digital Skills with MintTwist and Elliot King. As always, if you are looking for more resources on digital skills, you can find plenty on the MintTwist blog, minttwist.com/blog. You can find out about our events at minttwist.com/events, and of course, you can contact MintTwist, and the contact details are there on minttwist.com. My name is Elliot King. I'm the founder and co-founder and CEO of MintTwist, and you can find out more about me on my personal website at elliottking.com. Okay, on today's session on digital skills with MintTwist, we're going to be talking about Google Analytics, and I'm going to go straight into it now, and we'll run through some slides here to help us explain. So, first of all, we like to look at Google Analytics at the center of your digital marketing strategy management world. It's really the sun in the solar system of your measurement framework, and that's really because it's a very effective tool for measuring behavior, activity, traffic of users on your websites. And the vast majority of digital marketing campaigns out there consist of the website sitting right in the middle of the marketing funnel and really working as the principal conversion marketing tool. So what we're really saying is, with most digital marketing campaigns, there's a lot of awareness and acquisition activity on social media, via social media advertising, search engine optimization, Google AdWords, PPC, all of these types of activities, or they're mostly used to generate prospects. So this is connecting with potential customers with a message and some creative, and the call to action is typically going to take them back to a landing page on a website. And so really the job of converting that prospect into either qualified opportunity for a sales team, or if it's an e-commerce website, and turning that into an actual customer, either on that first visit or subsequent visits to the website. So really the website's playing a very large role in that process, converting users. So for that reason, obviously, the website is very important, and therefore the performance of that website is very important, and the way that you measure and hopefully improve the performance of that website, the main tool that you would use to do that is Google Analytics. Okay, so in this introduction to Google Analytics, we're going to talk about what we can learn from the tool, which reports we can use. Google Analytics is essentially a large collection of a huge amount of data and a very large number of reports. But there are some key ones, particularly for those of you out there who are new to Google Analytics. There are some key ones that you can start to use. And then obviously, most importantly, really, we can look at all of this information, but what are we actually going to do with it? And we'll talk about some recommended ways of the sorts of actions that you might want to take off the back of drawing down information from Google Analytics. Okay, so how to use Google Analytics. A lot of this content is taken from Google themselves, who quite rightly talk about this measurement, insight, action framework. So step one in using Google Analytics is to take a measurement. It's to analyze the data, and then out of that analysis to create an insight. So if you've got some data, it's by itself, it's not very useful unless you create an insight. And typically that's a combination of data, but then your intuitive understanding of your own business, the customer journey, and how your customer would engage your business. And if you're looking at Google Analytics and you're looking at the data, you want to draw out insights that's going to help you improve that interaction with the customer in order to ultimately convert more potential customers into more real world customers. And so once you've created that insight, it's really important that we're creating a specific action for either for yourselves, or if you've got an internal team, your internal team, or if you're using an agency, your agency or agencies and freelancers and so on and so forth. And those actions that you're looking to drive are, if they're implemented, you then should be able to come back to Google Analytics at some timely point, take the measurements again, and just review whether that action has indeed generated the improvement that you were hoping to achieve. Okay, so how does Google Analytics actually work? So Google talk about the ABCs of Google Analytics, and the ABC stands for acquisition, behavior, and conversion. And these three components are inherently linked, and in fact the way Google Analytics is designed, the interface, it's drawn out of this framework entirely. So the design of the dashboard is laid out in these three main sections, against these three main sections. We'll talk about what they mean just now. So firstly, acquisition. What are we talking about? Acquisition is quite simply where you are acquiring your website traffic from. So if you can imagine, the fishing trawler is trawling around the various seas that it would go to do its fishing. Some of those seas are going to be more effective from a fishing perspective than others, meaning they'll be able to catch more fish in those seas. And the acquisition reports are really trying to tell you about which channels are most effective for capturing website visitors. And we'll take a look at some of the reports that you can use just now. And so, I touched on it just now. Principally, what we're looking at with the acquisition reports is the channels themselves. And what we mean by that, what we mean by channels in the Google Analytics world is organic search. So organic search is if I type in a search like running shoes in London into a search engine, I'm going to be presented with a number of search results. And if I click on the website in question and end up on that website, then I'm going to show up in their Google Analytics report as one visitor that's been acquired from the organic search channel. Conversely, if I typed in the name of the website directly into the browser, then I'm going to show up as a visitor that's come from the direct channel. If I came off a Google AdWords click or PPC click, then I'll show up in paid search. If I came from social network, I would show up as social network. If I came off the back of an email, I would show as having come from an email channel. So channels are very important because if we have an understanding of where our traffic is coming from today, then it's going to inform what we're doing from a marketing perspective going forward. We're going to go on to talk about some of the other metrics. But what's important to understand is that Google, as well as giving you in this case, the raw numbers of visitors that are coming from the different channels, it's also going to give you an inference about the quality of those visitors. And we'll come on to talk about some of the ways that you can measure the quality of visitors, but we're talking things about average time on site, average pages per visit, bounce rate, goals achieved, and so on and so forth. We'll build on those as we go forward. So the other report that's important to look at for many marketeers is what's called the referrals report. So this quite simply is which websites out there are referring traffic or website visitors or potential customers to our websites. And so the referrals report typically is going to be a list of websites, third-party websites, and the numbers that you'll see there are telling you the numbers of clicks that have come along with website visitors come from those websites to land on your website. Again, important for us to understand which websites are referring traffic Many of the websites you'll recognise when you go into your Google Analytics report and look at this type of report, but quite often you'll see one or two in there that you just didn't realise they were linking to your site, and they're sending traffic, and it's traffic into good numbers. So it's important to look at that report because there's quite often opportunities to develop partnerships with sites that are referring traffic to your business. Okay. The other report that's obviously really important to understand is the search terms. So which search terms are sending traffic to your site? And so what do you do with these types of acquisitions reports? Well, you're learning which sources are important to your business. You're looking for opportunities to develop those sources, be they referring sites or channels or other things. You're looking at the search terms that people are using to reach your site. It's going to help you to develop your SEO strategy, your organic search engine optimization strategy. Based on how the channels are performing, it's also going to help you to allocate advertising and focus your budgets. Okay, so now let's move on to the B and the ABCs. Let's move on to behaviour. So we've got a nice little hamster here who's behaving in a manner, in a hungry manner. And so what we're looking at when we look at behaviour reports in Google Analytics is how are our users behaving when they're on our site, and in particular, what types of content are they engaging with, how long are they spending on that content, and what are they doing as a result of visiting that content. So one of the key reports is the page behaviour reports, and that's principally telling us how many, what are our most popular pages. So the forward slash that you'll see at the top of a report like that reflects the home page, and in this case it's telling us that 2,400 people have visited the home page, and for every website out there, most certainly the home page is going to be the most visited page. So what we're more interested in typically is what are the second, third and fourth most visited pages. So if, for example, you're an agency of any description and you and your customers are really buying the sort of relationships that your team can have with them, then the Meet the Team or the About Us pages are probably going to be important. And having an understanding about which pages your customers are looking at and engaging with is really important, because obviously those are the most popular pages, so we want to make sure we're saying the right things on those pages. So the other thing we do with behaviour reports is analyse the performance of pages. So large numbers of sites out there will use blog content as kind of as marketing hooks. They'll create content, put it on their blogs because they want potential customers to come across interesting articles, to read those articles, and then hopefully move on to the service and product page areas of a website, which are really like the money pages of a website. So if we want to analyse the performance of our marketing content, we can take a look at those marketing pages, very often blog pages, and have a look at their performing in the context of the wider site. So if you see a blog article that's performing abnormally well, meaning much better than average pages on your site, then it's quite important to try and understand exactly why that is. Is it the topic that it's talking about? Is it where it's been linked from? Is there referring sites, referring lots of traffic data? What are the reasons it's performing really well? And let's see if we can replicate them across other blog sites. Similarly, if there's a page that's underperforming, it's quite important to understand why. Okay. The other thing that's important to understand in terms of analysing the behaviour of our website visitors is the exit pages. So why would that be important? Why would we want to analyse where people are leaving our website? Well, one of the reasons we would want to do that is to understand that imagine you're in a physical, you're running a physical store. Many of you out there maybe run physical stores. If it's a retail store, a small retail store, and you've got a customer walking around in the shop and they're browsing things and they're in there for about 5 or 10 minutes and then they try a few things on and then they're walking out of the door, you're probably going to want to say goodbye, come back soon, maybe we can find what you're looking for next time. But you're probably going to say something as opposed to nothing. And so if there are pages where your website visitors are leaving in large numbers, it may be a bad thing. It may be these are pages where you don't want people to leave, and you might want to address the fact that they're leaving and improve your call to actions. However, if there are website users have to leave your website at some stage, they can't stay on there forever. So there are some pages where it's logical for them to exit, but we just want to make sure that as they're going, we're saying the right thing. So, if we're a physical store, it might be a restatement of where we're based. If we are a knowledge business selling knowledge and we're looking for people to connect with us on our via a newsletter, then it might be that we want to put that call to action on these exit pages. Before you leave, would you like to connect with us, stay in touch via our newsletter? We provide you insights and that type of thing. So understanding your exit pages and then creating an associated insight and action is very important. So what do we do with the outputs of our behavior analysis? We want to learn what visitors are interested in our site. We want to see where the visitors are coming into our site, so the entrance pages, the exit pages, and then, as always, we want to develop associated appropriate insights and action. Okay. So goal conversions, and the picture I've chosen here is Johnny Wilkinson, who's a famous English rugby player, scoring a conversion against Australia in the World Cup a few years ago, and this is the last time England or probably one of the only times England have won very much in international sport lately. But that is another story. So goals. What are goals? As in rugby, it's goals that represent an objective, and it's something we're trying to achieve. And in perspective of Google Analytics, we're talking about objectives from our perspective as marketeers of a website, a successful website visit. So examples of these can be, for example, filling out a contact form, buying, a product, purchasing a product if it's an e-commerce website, signing up for an event, signing up for a newsletter, and so on and so forth. And Google has an interface that lets you set up these types of goals for your website within Google Analytics. And so before we do analysis on conversions, which is what we're going to be talking about now, it's important to understand that we need to have goals set up for our website. So if we don't have goals set up in our website, we get no conversion data, because the conversion data that Google Analytics is going to provide you is based on goals and goal data. So the 4 different types. One is a destination. This is very typically one of the most popular goal types. So if you've got a contact form and there's a thank you page that says thank you for filling out the contact form, if you're a service-based company, then if a website user reaches that thank you page, implicitly implies that they've completed the contact form. So putting a destination as a thank you page as a goal would be an example of a good goal for a service-based company. If you're a site, a media site, for example, or a news site, and you're all about maximizing the engagement of the user, meaning part of which is the amount of time they spend on your site, then you might set a goal that says we want the visit duration to be greater than 10 minutes, for example, or based on what your average visitor duration, website visit duration is. What's top 10%, and you set that as a goal, you set that as a target. Pages per screen, or pages or screens per visit, is as it describes, and then using some more advanced interface, we can create event triggers. So if there's a database behind your website and there's specific actions that fire in that database, and you want to fire a goal conversion, you can set up events to do that. Okay, and the interface that I was referring to is shown here. So you pick your goal type, you give it a name, and you press continue, and the setup is really as easy as that. The event goal takes a bit that takes a bit of programming from a database perspective, but the other three event types, very, very simple to set up. Okay, and then the benefit of doing that is that once you've set up goals, then you're going to get conversion data. So if we look in the example on screen at the moment, we've got an example of visitors by channel, so organic search, direct, social, referral, and other. We've got the type of behaviour that visitors from those channels are performing. So if we look at organic search, the average session duration is 2 minutes 15. The average session duration from direct is much larger at 3:53. Interesting by itself, but what's really interesting is, in this case, we're talking about a successful contact form completion. The goal conversion rate, as you'll see from organic search, is 7.14%, and it's 4.62% for direct. So organic search is a very, very effective way in this example of converting website visitors into potential customers actually made an inquiry, as is, interestingly, social media. So social media, from a percentage goal conversion perspective, is working very well in this particular example, and this type of data clearly is very valuable. So what do we do with conversion output? We learn which channels of content is driving goal conversions, we measure activity, we develop insights, we take action. So there's an add-on to the goal conversions and the goals topics, and that's really attribution. So if we imagine a player like David Beckham, for example, famous English player from a few years back, the value of David Beckham to the team in which he played was not always the number of goals he scored. I mean, he scored a lot of goals, but there were players who scored many more goals than him who played in attack. So David Beckham was a midfield player, most often played on the right-hand side of midfield, and his primary job was not actually scoring goals, it was actually creating assists for other players. And so if we attribute value to a team game, if we think about our digital marketing strategy as a team game, we're employing lots of channels and lots of tools and tactics to win, to convert, ultimately from a marketing perspective, to convert potential customers into customers. And so it's important that we understand how to attribute value to the different components of our digital strategy. So that's what attribution is trying to do, and Google Analytics tries to make it easy for us to do that. So if we consider the conversion path, consider a user who's visited your website on 4 different occasions, and on the 4th occasion they finally fill out that contact form, so they complete the goal that we've set up for them. So if we imagine on the first search, the first time they visited our website, they ran a search over a search engine, they found an AdWords results, and they clicked on that and hit our website. 1 week later, we sent them an email, they clicked on the email, they came to our website again. A few days after that, imagine that they found us on social media, clicked through one of our social channels and got to our website. And then 2 days after that, they typed in the name of our website, direct. They went onto the website and they completed the contact form and therefore fired the goal. So there was 4 steps involved in this goal being generated. But which one of those channels, out of the 4 channels we discussed there, which one is the most important? Well, the answer to that question is interesting because it's entirely dependent on your digital marketing strategy. So if for your business it's most important to generate awareness, and you want to attribute more value to those channels that are generating awareness in the first place. If it's most important to convert a customer, to actually make them complete the goal, if that's the most challenging aspect of your digital strategy, then you might want to attribute more value to the channels that actually converted that customer, meaning the ones that came later in the customer journey, in the customer conversion journey. So Google Analytics tries to help us to do this in real time by setting up different types of attribution. These quite simply attribute different amounts of value of a goal to the different channels accordingly. So last interaction would be the last touch point. Last non-direct click would be the last touch point that's not from the channel direct. Last AdWords click is important if we're measuring the value of our AdWords campaigns. First interaction is important if the generating that initial awareness and that initial visit is the most important thing to us. Linear will spread out the value. Time decay will give most value to the touch points that are closest to the conversion. Position-based will give most to the first and last and share out the rest of the value in between. And then, so once you've set up a goal, the great thing is you can compare the data against the different attribution models in real time. So it's important for you to understand you don't have to pick an attribution model. Once you just have to create a goal. And once you've created a goal and you've got some data, you can analyze how the different channels have contributed to those goal completions by altering the attribution models in real time. And that's what you'll see on the screen here. We're comparing last non-direct click with last interaction. We can quite simply change these and the data will update. And when you go back, you look at the organic search channel, and you can see that under the last non-direct click attribution model, it's getting a score of 79. However, underneath the last interaction model, it's getting a score of just 69. So what that's really saying is that organic search is better at driving the first interaction than it is actually making the conversion. It doesn't mean it's less valuable, and arguably it's more valuable because it's driving the first interaction that ultimately led to a goal conversion. And that's all for today. As always, thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions at all, MintTwist.com will always be happy to answer them. If you've got any questions that you want to push through the social media channels, I'm at Elliot_King on Twitter.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. MintTwist on Twitter at the handle is at MintTwist. If you're listening on Periscope or YouTube, you can leave your questions in there. We'll come back to them. But thanks very much for listening, and I will see you again next time.